if you have your Flutter installed like we did it in the previous session, in this session we are going to actually start working with that Flutter language. So what we need to do is, first on a desktop, on a fresh desktop, I'm creating a new folder. Let me create a new folder, new, then let me name it Flutter class. This is just a folder that I call Flutter class. Now I'll enter this folder. You see, currently there is nothing inside, right? So what you need to do is that you need to open your VS Code. Yeah, I have it here. I click on my VS Code and it will open for me. After you open it, we need to go and open that folder that we just created. So what we do is that you go to file at the top here. Let me make it bigger. So you go to the file at the top here, you click on file, then you go to open folder. You select open folder, click on open folder. You need to navigate to the desktop. So you have to be on the desktop. So this is the desktop, and then on the desktop, let's look for the Flutter class that this is the folder we just created. So now select that. So with this Flutter open now, you need to create the terminal. Open the terminal. To open the terminal, you go to view, click on view, then you click on terminal. View, then go to terminal. Then you to open your terminal. But if you go to that view, right, there is a shortcut here, control, and then the forward, the up is just below the escape button, mostly the button, the one that contains the tilde, right? That was the, yeah, that keyboard. So control plus is this particular key is just below the escape button on your keyboard. So now this is what we have now. So it will open the this information. You can see the path here that it is on Flutter, and then it's in the folder Flutter class for us. It's appropriate to have a close name for the product, for the folder. It's appropriate to have a close name for it. So it's like a Flutter class as one word, a Flutter underscore class, or just Flutter, or let's just write class, right? But here it doesn't really matter. Let's continue for now. Now over here, you need to be in this folder. Just click here, and then you click on new file, create a new file. Let's call it main main dot that. You have to make sure that you enter, you end with dot that. Main, that's the name of the file, dot, then dart, that will be the name of the file. That's the end of the, we call it the extension. If it is Python file, then we'll have done dot py, then it will be a Python file. But because we are doing that, we are going to do dot that. That's the extension to recognize this as a Flutter file. Now, as usual, like how we were doing it in the that part, we need to actually create a function, the entry point of the project. That's the void main, and we are going to just print something small. Let me off this my auto completion so that we can code from scratch. Okay, so right now let me just go print something small. Print a message. Let's say this is the Flutter class, right? Then we just open it, close it, and then run it. But let me make it bigger again. Yes, so let me close this side small and lower this small. Then we'll have this. Now let me run it. To run it, you go to the terminal, right? Make sure you click inside the terminal here. Then you click on, you enter that space, then the name of the file. The name of the file is that.py, the that.py. So you need to select that, and then main.that, that's the file that we are running, and enter. When you do that, it is going to run and stop, and this is what we have. This is the Flutter class. This is coming from this. That's how we run the file, and that's how we first test it. Now we need to continue the lesson, and the lesson that we have been so far is making decisions. We are now going to start making decisions based on the logical operations or operators that we've covered so far. So we say logical operators return true or false for us. So at some portions of the code, when you are writing your code, you need to make sure that some key points you need to take some decision. If a particular decision, a particular statement is true, you want to do something. If it is not true, you want to do another thing, right? So that's how you help the computer to actually take decision based on what you have, based on what you have, based on a particular data given. So we are going to do a very simple example, right? And do that to make the decision. Something that help us is the if statement. You call them the if statement. So these are if statements. So we are going to start. We are going to see how we will do that using the if statement. Let's assume that you have a variable, and the variable is called int age equals to 20, for example, and put 20 inside, right? So now I want to say that if that age, if this age, if the age is 18 and above, let's just declare the person as adult, right? So now let's do that in code. Now that one is a comment, so just something to help us. So now if the age variable, so let me, if statement comes in this way, and then with closing brackets, see how you could, then you open the closing bracket like this. You see this one, this is the structure of an if statement, right? So you have the if, then close brackets, close normal brackets in front of it, and then this. It is similar to what we have here. Like we have the void, we have the main, we have the brackets in front of it before you have the curly brackets, right? But this one for the if, we have if, and then we have this bracket, and then we have the curly bracket that follows up immediately. Inside this bracket, right, this is where you put the condition. The bracket over there is where you put the actual condition that you have. And the condition is that if the age is 18 and above, right? So we have learned logical operators already. So age should be 18 and above. So meaning that's greater or equal to 18. This is the condition that we covered so far. So if the age is greater than or equal to 18, this is what we need to do. We need to print the message, print the age. Let me say you are an adult. So this is what I'm going to print if this thing is going to work, right? So now if the age is greater than or equal to 18, so if this is the entire condition that we are having, if the condition is true, then this is going to run. This is going to run only if this condition is true. Currently we have 20 inside the age box, right? So let's see, it's supposed to run. Let me clear the terminal. You just enter the word clear and it will clear it. Now let me run the file. That's main.dat. That's yeah, so it's declaring that you are an adult. It has run for that you are an adult as well, because you can see that it contains 18, right? And the condition is that if that age that is here is greater than or equal to 18, then it should print this. So let me enter 18 itself, and I'll run it again. It is saying you are an adult because the age is now exactly 18, because the condition is saying it should be 18 or above, right? So let me just go a bit below 17, which it is less than. It doesn't, it's like it goes against this particular condition, meaning it's going to be false. When I run this, then let me run this, right? It's not running anything. Before it closes, it's not running anything for us, because when it reaches this stage, when it reaches this stage and sees that this particular condition is not met, because here we have 17 and 17 is not less than, so this is going to be false. If this condition is not met, right, then it will skip this block and continue, and there is nothing after this if. That's why it just stops, right? So now we need to put something below it. Now let's put another if condition. If age is less than 18, if age is less than 18, then let's print you are not yet of age. You are not yet of age. This is what is going to happen. If the age is less than 18, you are not yet of age. Are we good? So what happened is, now let's run this thing again. First, let me clear and run this again with 17. So you can see it say you are not yet of age, right? Because it will go here, run this thing. This condition is false. If it is false, it will ignore this block and continue to the next code, the next lines of code. And this line of code is saying if age is less than 18, then it's going to run this particular thing. So after this one is false, now it comes here and sees this code and run this and see that okay, 17 is less than 18. So this condition is true, therefore it has printed this. So that's how the if statement works in a simple term. We can, it's not just numbers, right? We can actually help with letters as well. So first here, let me remove the age. I'm going to clean this variable and I'm going to say string. I have a string password equals to 1234. It's a string, right? Let me say secure 1234 and I'll close this one. Right now inside this first statement, we are not working with age again. I'll say password, if password is equals to, because in this case we are comparing, so equals to secure 1234, right? We are going to say access granted. Access granted. That's what we are going to do, right? If password is not equal to secure 234, right? 234, then we are going to say access denied. That's what is going to happen. So now the password should be secure 1234, 234, secure 234. So if the password that will be entered in this case is equal to secure 234, then we're going to say secure access granted. But if it is not equal to secure 1234, then what we'll get is access denied. We'll get an access denied. So let's run this. Right now I have secure 1234, but I'm looking for the password should be equal to this, and this one assignment, this is equation. So right, we are just comparing. So we are comparing the password to this. We've done this in the previous session, and this, if this particular statement is true, then we'll be running this particular portion of the code. Okay, so that was secure 234. It needs to be exactly this thing before it runs. Okay, let's run this and see. Let me clear and run this. Then say access denied. Access denied. Why? What we have here is secure, and even the cure is not having the e at the end. 1234. But what we are looking for is that the password should be equal to secure secure with e, and there's no one, there's 234. And this one is false. If this is false, then this particular line of the code will not run. This particular portion of the code will not run at all. But then if you do this for this guy, right, if you do it for this guy, if you come here, we see that the password that we have here, we are bringing, is not equal to the secure 234. Therefore this guy is running. So this one is not equal to, this one is exactly equal to. So this statement here is false because password is not equal to this. And if you come here, if password is not equal to this, and we can see that the password here is not equal to secure 234, therefore this particular one is running. That's why we have the access denied. But in case we now actually work and make sure that we have the e at the end instead of the one, and then we run this thing again, we will see access granted because the password contains exactly what we are comparing with exactly. And that one runs, this one runs. If it comes here, you say password is not equal to, but unfortunately the password is equal to that, so it will not be able to run. So that's how the basis of if statements work. Now um let's go back to what we had first, the age. So int age equals to, let me do 20 again, 20 again. Then I will say if age is greater than or equal to 18, we are going to say print access granted, right? Print the message that we had is you are eligible to vote. So you can vote, basically you can vote. But then if you are not, so if age is equal to 20, right, then I will say um is it equal to, no, if age is greater than 20, or yes. So I want to illustrate something. If age is greater than 19, for example, I will say you are also eligible to vote. So now I have these two examples, right? So okay, now if the age is greater or equal to 18, I will say you can vote, right? Let's run it and see what this thing returns to us. Return for us. Yeah, so it we have that you can vote, and then you are also eligible to vote. So what happened is that this particular block of code ran, and this particular block of code also ran separately. Again, this particular block of code ran first separately, and this one also ran separately. But in the condition is that if age is greater or equal to 18, right, meaning that 19 is also greater than or equal to 18. So definitely, why are we still comparing at this side, right? So if the if statements are connected, right, this one and this are connected. So if the age is greater than this, right, then we need to print something. You need to understand that whenever you start a new if statement, you are starting a new block of, and this one will fully run. It will fully run on its own. It will fully run, and this will also run separately, even if they are checking the same thing. So I can also do this greater than or equal to 18 over here. Again, 18, and then I'll print this message again. Then you are returning the same thing. You can vote, right? Because this one is one block of code running on its own. It will fully run, right, if it is true, and this one will also run separately if it is true, right? But they are almost the same thing. You don't need to be running. Sometimes the conditions are linked in such a way that they need to be grouped together so that only one of them will run instead of running multiple things. It may not be clear. Let me take you through an example of what I mean. Instead of doing if age is greater or equal to 18, right, we are going to introduce something. Let me clean this one. If age is greater than or equal to 18, print you can vote, right? And there's another thing. If that particular thing is false, right, we are going to say that if this particular block of or condition is false, or if you are ignoring this particular block of code, the thing to run as an alternative is going to be, we say else. Else, for the else, you don't need to bring the bracket. You don't need to bring this bracket for else. Else is if the first block of code is ignored or is false and you couldn't run it. If you could not run this block of code, then you now run whatever we are going to do, put inside the else statement for you. And they said you cannot vote. let me put you cannot vote there. So if the age is greater or equal to 18, it's going to print this, right? Going to print this, and that's it. It will stop. It will not come back and run this separately again. It will not do that, like unlike the first case. So this particular thing is now a connected statement. So only one of these two can work. The if block and the else block, they are connected. So if is connected to else. If is connected to else. So mostly, if when needed, if needs to have an else following it, and only one of them will run. But if you write different if, they are going to be separate statements. So the first if will run, the second if will run, the third if will run, the fourth if will run. That's going to cause some issues if the things are linked. If they are all linked, like in this case, right, all you do is that you need to make sure you run, you put an else statement such that if the first block it doesn't run, then we have an else statement. We don't want the two of them to run at the same time, because we only want one of them to run. Either the if will run or the else will run. Only one of them will run. That's why you need to do it this way. Let me clear this and now run this thing. Then say you can vote. You see that you can vote has come. Only you can vote has come, but then the else did not run. The else did not run because this particular block of code was true and it has run. This statement was true and it ran because the age is 20 and 20 is greater than or equal to 18, so it ran. Let's go to 17. If you go to 17 and run this thing, you say you cannot vote. It prints you cannot vote. Why? Because if you go here, this is false, right? This particular block of code will be ignored. It will be ignored. Then it will now, if it is false, it will ignore. And at the place of that particular, if this particular first block of code didn't run, the else will always run in place of the if, right? But between them, else and if, only one can run. The two of them cannot run again. But if you go ahead, right, and you do another if age is equal to 18, then we are going to say that print you are exactly of age to vote. This is something that we are telling, right? So now we say that if and else form one block, and between the if and the else, only one of them can run. If you start another if, it means that this particular first if is separate. This is a new block of if statement you are starting, right? So this one and this are connected, right? But two ifs are not connected. If you write two separate ifs are not connected, this is if, right? And then this is another if, and this if is linked to is else. This one is linked to is else, so both of them are connected. But you cannot say that this separate if is connected to the block, the first block, because they are separating. So this one will run fully, only one of them will run, but this one will also run on its own. So now let me make the age to be 18, and then we'll see what happened. Let me run this. So you can see, you write, you can vote. You are exactly of age to vote. So what is happening is that when the age is 18, right, this one runs, right? This one is correct because you say age should be greater or equal to 18. So this one will run. That condition is true. This one will run, but the else will not run because between this connected block, only one, either the if run or the else run. That's what is work. Now, if you have the if alone, meaning you are starting a new if statement which is separate from the first one. So whichever of these two run, it doesn't concern this one, because this one, only one of them will run. But then for this particular one, it's a separate if statement you are starting, and it has to run its own starting again. So for this particular second if, you can add its own else statement as well, right? And we say print print this user is not eligible. It's not 18 years. It's not 18 years old. Yes. So this is what's happening, right? So you see this thing, this is one block, and then this is also another one block of connected if statements. So if and else are together and another if and else are together. Whenever you start a new if, it is separate from the first if. They are not connected, right? If you see that the conditions are concerning the same thing, put them inside if and else statement. Okay, so if I run this, if I run this particular thing, you say you can vote you guys of age. Let me go back and change the thing to 17, for example. Um, so let me change it to 20. 20. Let me clear and run. So you see that you can vote. This is saying you can vote, and this person, the second one is saying this user is not 80 years old. That's what's happening. So from the first if, right, from this particular if, only one of them can work. Either the if or if else will work. And then for the first time, the age is 20, right? So the 20 is greater than 18. This is true. This condition is true. Therefore, it's printed this. Once one of these two is printed, then the else will be ignored, right? Now, if you come to this if, you have started another if. So the program will continue and look at which of these two can they run. Then it will go and run them. Which of these two can they run? Then it will go and run them. So if the age is exactly 18, then it will print the if it is not. And then we are working with 20 at this time. Since we are working with 20 at this time, when it reaches this one, right, you see that the if didn't work, the if is because we are looking for exactly 18. If that particular block of code doesn't work, then if else counterpart will rather work in place of this block. So in this block, the else statement has run, but for the first block, the if statement is the one that ran. So the first if statement gives us you can vote. That's why you have you can vote here. And for the second block of if statement, we have the else running, and then that's the else running giving us this. So that's the way we connect these two statements, if and if else.